Shri Sai Satcharitra, Chapter 16 and 17. Quick Brahma Jnana. These two chapters relate the story of a rich gentleman who wanted Brahma Jnana quickly from Sai Baba. Preliminary. The last chapter described how Mr. Cholkar vow of small offering was completed and accepted. In that story, Sai Baba showed that he would accept with appreciation any small thing offered with love and devotion. But if the same thing was offered with a pride and haughtiness, he would reject it. Being himself full of Sat Chit Ananda, that is, existence, knowledge, and bliss. He did not care much for more outward formalities, but if an offering was made in a meek and humble spirit, the same was welcomed, and he accepted it with a pleasure and avidity. In fact, there is no person more liberal and benevolent than a Sadguru, like Sai Baba. He cannot be compared to the Chintamani jewel, the philosopher's stone which satisfies desires, the Kalpataru, the celestial tree which fulfills our desires, or the Kamadhenu, the celestial cow which yields what we desire, because they give us only what we desire. But Sadguru gives us the most precious thing, that is inconceivable and inscrutable, the reality. Now let us hear how Sai Baba disposed of rich men who came to him and implored him to give him a Brahmajnana. There was a rich gentleman who was very prosperous in his life. He had amassed a large quantity of wealth, houses, field lands, and had many servants and dependents. When Baba's fame reached his ears, he said to his friend that he was not in want of anything, and so he would go to Shirdi and ask Baba to give him Brahmajnana, which, if he got, would certainly make him more happy. His friend dissuaded him, saying, "It is not easy to know Brahman, and especially so for an avaricious man like you, who is always engrossed with wealth, wife, and children. Who will, in your quest of Brahmajnana, satisfy you that won't give away even a paisa in a charity?" Not minding his friend's advice, the fellow engaged a return journey Tonga and came to Shirdi. He went to Masjid, saw Sai Baba, fell at his feet and said, "Baba, hearing that you show a Brahmajnana to all who come over here without any delay, I have come here all the way from my distant place. I am here fatigued by the journey, and if I get Brahman from you, my troubles will be well paid off and rewarded." Baba then replied, "O my dear friend, do not be anxious. I shall immediately show you Brahman. All my dealings are in cash and never on credit. So many people come to me and ask for wealth, health, power, honor, position, cure of diseases, and other temporal matters. Rare is the person who come here to me and ask for Brahmajnana. There is no dearth of a person asking for worldly things. But as persons interested in spiritual matters are very rare, I think it is a lucky and auspicious moment when persons like you come and press me for Brahmajnana. So I show you with a pleasure the Brahma with all its accompaniments and complications." Saying this, Baba started to show him Brahman. He made him sit there and engaged him in some other talk or affair, and thus made him forget his questions for the time being. Then he called a boy and told him to go to Nandu Marwari and get from him a hand loan of 5 rupees. The boy left and returned immediately, saying that Nandu was absent and his house was locked. Then Baba asked him to go to Bala grocer and get from him the said loan. This time also the boy was unsuccessful. The experiment was repeated again and again, twice or thrice, with the same result. Sai Baba was, as we know, the living and moving Brahman incarnate. Then someone may ask, why did he want a paltry sum of 5 rupees? And why did he try hard to get it on loan? Really, he did not want that sum at all. He must have been fully knowing that Nandu and Bala were absent, and he seems to have adopted this procedure as a test for a seeker of Brahman. The gentleman had a roll or a bundle of currency notes in his pocket, and if he was really earnest, he would not have sit quiet and be a mere onlooker. When Baba was frantically trying to get a paltry sum of 5 rupees, he knew that Baba would keep his word and repay the debt, and that the sum wanted was insignificant. Still, he could not make up his mind and advance the sum. Such a man wanted from Baba the greatest thing in the world, that is Brahma Jnana. Any other man who really loved Baba would have at once given 5 rupees instead of being a mere onlooker. It was otherwise with this man. He advanced no money, nor did he sit silent, but began to be impatient. As he was in a haste to return and implored Baba by saying, "O Baba, please show me Brahman soon." Baba replied, "Oh my dear friend, did you not understand all the procedure that I went through, sitting in this place, for enabling you to see Brahman? It is, in short, this: for seeing Brahman, one has to give 5 things, that is, surrender 5 things, that is, 5 pranas, 5 senses, mind, intellect, and ego. This path of Brahma Jnana, of self realization, is as hard as to thread on the edge of the razor." Sai Baba then gave rather a long discourse on the subject, the purport of which is given below. Qualification from Brahmajnana or self realization. All persons do not see or realize Brahman in their lifetime. Certain qualifications are absolutely necessary. 1. Mumuksha, or intense desire to get free. He who thinks that he is bound and that he should get free from bondages and work earnestly and resolutely to that end, and who does not care for any other things, is qualified for spiritual life. Second one, virakti, or a feeling of disgust with the things of this world and next. Unless man feels disgust with the things, emoluments, and honor which his action would bring in this world and the next, he has no right to enter into the spiritual realm. Third one, antarmukta, that is introversion. Our senses have been created by God with a tendency to move outward, and so man always looks outside himself and not inside. He who wants self realization and immortal life must turn his gaze inwards and look to his inner self. Fourth one is catharsis, or from purging away of sins. Unless a man has turned away from wickedness and stopped from doing wrong and has entirely composed himself, and unless his mind is at rest, he cannot gain self realization even by means of knowledge. Fifth one, right conduct, unless a man leads a life of truth, penance, and insight, a life of a celibacy, he cannot get God realization. Sixth one, preferring Shreyas. There are two sorts of things, that is, the good and the pleasant. The former deals with spiritual affairs and the latter with mundane matters. Both these approach man for acceptance. He has to think and choose one of them. The wise man prefers the good to the pleasant, but the unwise, through the greed and attachment, chooses the pleasant. Seventh one, control of the mind and the senses. The body is the chariot, and the self is its master. Intellect is the charioteer, and the mind is the reins. The senses are the horses, and the sense object their paths. He who has no understanding and whose mind is unrestrained, his senses unmanageable like a vicious horses of a charioteer, does not reach his destination to get realization, but goes through the round of births and deaths. But he who understanding and whose mind is restrained has his senses being under control like a good horse of charioteer reaches that place, that is, the state of self realization, when he is not born again. The man who has understanding as his charioteer, guide, and is able to rein his mind reaches the end of the journey, which is the supreme abode of all the pervading Lord Vishnu. Eighth one, purification of the mind. Unless a man discharges satisfactorily and disinterestedly the duties of his life, his mind will not be purified, and unless his mind is that viveka, that is, discrimination between the real and unreal, and vairagya, that is, non attachment to the unreal, crop up and lead on to self realization. Unless egoism is dropped, avarice got rid of, and the mind made desireless, pure, self realization is not possible. The idea that I am the body is the great delusion, and attachment to this idea is the cause of bondage. Leave off this idea and attachment, therefore, if you want to get the goal of self realization. Ninth one, the necessity of a guru. The knowledge of the self, if so subtle and mystic, that no one could, by his own individual effort, ever hope to attain it. So, the help of another person, teacher, who has himself got self realization is absolutely necessary. What others cannot give with great labor and pains can easily be gained with the help of such a teacher. For he was walked on the path himself and can easily take the disciple step by step on the ladder of spiritual progress. In tenth one, and lastly, the God's grace is the most essential thing. When the Lord is pleased with anybody, he gives him viveka and vairagya and takes him safe beyond the ocean of mundane existence. The self cannot be gained by the study of Vedas, nor by intellect, nor by much learning. He whom the self chooses gains it. To him the self reveals its nature, says the Katha Upanishad. After the dissertation was over, Baba turned to the gentleman and said, "Well, sir, there is in your pocket the Brahma in the form of 50 times 5, that is 250 rupees. Please take that out." The gentleman took out from his pocket the bundle of currency notes and to his great surprise found, on counting them, there were 25 notes of rupees 10 each. Seeing this omniscience of Baba, he was moved and fell at Baba's feet and craved for his blessings. Then Baba said to him, "Roll up your bundle of Brahma, that is, currency notes. Unless you get rid completely of your avarice or greed, you will not get the real Brahma. How can we whose mind is engrossed in wealth, progeny, and prosperity accept to know the Brahma without removing away his attachment for the same? The illusion of attachment or the love for the money is a deep eddy of pain full of crocodiles in the form of conceit and jealousy. He who is desireless can alone cross this whirlpool. Greed and Brahma are different poles, as they are eternally opposed to each other. Where there is a greed, there is no room for thought or meditation of a Brahma. Then, how can a greedy man get dispassion and salvation? For a greedy man, there is no peace, neither a contentment nor certainty. If there be even a little trace of a greed in mind, all the sadhanas, spiritual endeavors, are of no avail. Even the knowledge of the well read man, who is not free from the desire of the fruit or reward of his actions, and who has got no disgust for the same, is useless and can't help him in getting self realization. The teachings of a guru are of no use to a man who is full of egoism and who always thinks about the sense objects. Purification of mind is absolutely necessary. Without it, all our spiritual endeavors are nothing. It is therefore better for one to take only what he can digest and assimilate. My treasury is full, and I can give anyone what he wants. But I have to see whether he is qualified to receive my gift or not. If you listen to me carefully, you will be certainly be benefited. While sitting in this masjid, I never speak untruth. When the guest is invited to a house, all the members of the house and other friends and relatives that happen to be present and are entertained along with the guest. So, all those that were present in the masjid at this time could partake of the spiritual feast that was served by Baba for a rich gentleman. After getting Baba's blessings, one and all, including the gentleman, left the place quite happily and contented. Special characteristic of Baba. There are many saints who, leaving their houses, stay in forest, caves, or hermitages and remaining in solitude, try to get liberation or salvation for themselves. They do not care for other people and are always self absorbed. Sai Baba was not of such a type. He had no home, no wife, no progeny, nor any relations near or distant. Still, he lived in a world society. He begged his bread from 4 or 5 houses, always lived at the foot of neem tree, carried on worldly dealings, and taught all the people how to act and behave in this world. Rare are the sadhus and saints who, after attaining God vision, strive for the welfare of the people. Sai Baba was the foremost of these, and therefore, says Hemad Pant, blessed is the country, blessed is the family, and blessed are the chaste parents where this extraordinary, transcendent, precious, and pure jewel, Sai Baba, was born. Bow to Shri Sai, peace to be all. Shri Sai Pranam.